Jeff Ogilvy survives Wingfoot.
Now the moment Aaron Badley has waited for.
Gary Webb is the 5-time Australian Open champion.
Golf at its best by one of the best in golf, Peter Thompson.
Stand in front of a crowd like this today and win the PGA Championship is pretty special.
He's done it at last. Greg Norman.
Matt Jones gets his name on the Stonehaven Cup.
Leishman to 11 under. Now we've got a new leader, kids.
There it is, Adam Scott, a life changer.
Coming up next, you have unrestricted access to golf across Australia and the world. Thanks to Golf Australia, we're going inside the ropes. Subscribe now on iTunes or your favourite podcast app, or head to golf.org.au.
G'day everybody, welcome to the show, Inside the Ropes, episode number 54. Lovely to have you with us on what's been a really tough week for Australian golf, and by extension Australian golf fans. Mark Hayes, Stacey Peters here alongside me, Andy Maher. Lovely to see the pair of you. Hello to you, Stace.
Hey, thanks, Murray. Thank you.
Hazy, how are you bearing up, old boy?
Andy, we're chatting on Wednesday afternoon, and you and I have had the chance to speak in another couple of forums previously to the news that we're about to talk about, and I'm battling. So I think our normal upbeat, so especially the intro, is just going to have to go by the wayside today. I apologise to anyone who's listening and downtrodden with my voice.
No, I think people are going to understand that. John Senden's going to join us. I encourage you to have a listen to the big fella when he joins on the show. Ali Whittaker's going to preview the British Women's Open. Obviously, a lot to look forward to regarding Australia's chances there, but just another great event. Blake Collier, hopefully going to get in contact with that young man who lit it up in an amateur event over in the States. But, of course, Hazy and Stace, the lead item is the terribly sad news regarding Jarrod Lyle. Brian Lyle puts out the Facebook post on Tuesday night, and the world goes into preemptive mourning. The heaviness of the sadness that was felt right around the globe as people woke to the news or went to bed with the news was pretty overwhelming, to be honest.
I don't even know where to start.
Our thoughts just...
How long have you known him for? How long have you known him for?
10, 15 years maybe?
Yeah.
I mean, I can't speak. I'm not as close with him and his family as Hazy is here. But, yeah, it's just our thoughts with his family at this difficult time.
Look, he's made the most gut-wrenching decision you can ever make, which is, to opt for palliative care rather than treatment, for those who haven't caught up. And that is, I think, galling and, incredibly sad when you're 110 years old. But when you're 36 and you've got a beautiful wife who's a hero, and you have daughters who are 6 and 2 and the apple of your eye, I don't think many people have the strength to actually pull that trigger, Andy. I think that people rightly and beautifully have given him great encouragement for such a long time, not only this time, but his second battle in particular in 2012 when they knew what was going on as well. Come on, Jarrod. Keep fighting. You can do it, mate. Come on, you can push. Get there. Come on, keep going. He still reads all these tweets and posts and blogs and snaps and all this stuff, and his body can no longer answer the bell. He can't get there, Andy, and to see him on Tuesday night in Royal Melbourne Hospital was not to see a Jarrod Lyle who's full of life and how we will remember him in time, but to see someone who's in pain and doing it incredibly tough, has no sense of joy of what might lay ahead anymore. It's just counting down the days, and they're painful days right now. This is so gut wrenching. He's about half the weight we once knew him as. He's effectively blind. He's deaf in one ear. He's has no dignity in a lot of senses. In a personal way, he can't move in his bed without help, and he's alive, and he's mentally with it, which is awesome. I love that about him. But I don't think it's a life.
No,
if that
of
makes
course it's
sense.
not. No, of
And
course it's not.
I don't mean to cast such a pall on this at the start of the show, but people need to know that he's still that fighter that he always was, and I don't think he ever will be until he does take his last breath. That won't change. But he's it's time, Andy.
There comes a time when it's actually just okay to be sad. Like you don't want to when we come down, we get together, whatever the three ball is that does. Inside the ropes, we want to sit here and have a bit of fun and talk about the game that we love and the controversies that it bowls up and the great performances that we want to, enthuse about. But every now and again, Stace and Hazy, something happens in life that is what it is. And you just got to accept the fact that it's sad. And it's okay for a little while to be sad about it. What we, at various levels, have got to know him. And it's you're lying to the human condition if you don't acknowledge the fact that we're all suffering a bit here. And none more so than his bride and his immediate family and Lucy, who's old enough to know what the old man's going through. It's okay to be sad about that, and I'm sure people listening to this show feel a connection to Jarrod Lyle, whether they've just spectated on the telly or been on the other side of the ropes or played a pro-am with him or been to a sporty that he's been at or whatever way, shape or form. They've listened to an interview with him on radio. Whatever way, shape or form, this is the one thing that's been remarkable about Jarrod Lyle. He allows people to feel connected to him. And I think that's a great gift. It's a gift that is going to be taken away from him, obviously, but...
And from us.
Yeah,
I think
true.
it's, that gift is what makes him so appealing to the Australian sensibility, is that he engages you like you are his best mate.
Yeah.
He wants to hear your story. He wants to tell you a joke. He'll remember you when he next sees you. He'll do all that stuff, and still does. I shouldn't talk past tense. He still does. How long that lasts, we don't know. But I think, Andy, that he cuts across different spectrums. Like, he's not just a golfer, and he's not just a father. He's not just a cancer survivor. He's a role model for so many people. He's an example of how you use social media to inform the masses. He's everything to a lot of people. Not everything. He's a lot of things to a lot of people, and there aren't many like that. So
the way they've done things on social media, it really feels like that's how they have so much support. Briar keeping everybody informed on how things are going. I mean, it's been great. You feel like you're on the journey as well, and he's helped so many other sufferers.
Oh yeah,
because of that, because of the way they've been so open about it all.
Couldn't agree with you more.
Yeah.
From the next bed in Royal Melbourne Hospital to far-flung reaches of Canada, he's in touch with people constantly who've read his battle, witnessed his battle, not just this one, and he stayed in touch with them. I don't know how he does all that stuff.
Yeah.
Well, he told a few stories the last time he was on Inside the Ropes.
Yeah, true.
About that guy in Canada. Yeah,
that's right.
That's right. Yeah.
And there's a lot of bad crap that happens, Andy, on social media. But when you see it, the way it has today, I wrote the story that has been sitting on the golf.org.au website since basically midnight on Tuesday night, Wednesday morning, Eastern time, and tweeted it out. And I know that impressions aren't the measuring stick of everything, but that tweet has been seen by over 300,000 people as we record. Where are we? 15 hours later.
That's huge reach.
That's unbelievable. And it's not to do with Golf Australia, or definitely not the author. That's to do with Jarrod Lyle and how many people he's touched. So, obviously we don't have 300,000 followers. It's just people want to share his news and be part of his life. And he will be eternally grateful for that.
So there's you and Marty Blake, regular participant, one of the family here at Inside the Ropes, have been writing the Jarrod Lyle book, Hazy. And on Tuesday, prior to Bry releasing the news that, we're now talking about, you were in by Jarrod Lyle's bed in hospital, spending time with the family as a friend and also, a bit of a confidant. You recorded the interview that you did for the book with Jarrod Lyle. That must have been, I know you've got a bit of that with the family's permission, we're going to play, which is going to be particularly challenging for a lot of people, but we feel like it's pretty important that we hear it. That must have been a very difficult day, I imagine, being in there.
Yeah. Yeah, it was. It still is.
Yeah.
To be taken in to the most intimate of situations by anyone is
great privilege.
An immense privilege. And, it's in some ways it's the best of humanity that they actually allow me to do that. Bry rang and said, I think today is probably as good a day as any we've got coming up right now to come and do the last interview, in inverted commas, for the book. And so you go down and you ask questions, and I was surrounded by some family members and we were all crying, steady streams. And I did 2 little sessions of recording Andy, and he ended both with zingers. I couldn't possibly break confidence and tell you what he said, but my God, to when you've got litres of tears streaming down your eyes, and he just drops something that you'll never forget, and it's priceless, and it's Jarrod Lyle. Look, this. I'm sorry, this is really hard for me today. We're setting up to play this interview, right?
Yep.
Okay, so this was part of the book interview, and the book's meant to be, it was always hoped that it would be autobiographical. And clearly now that's impossible, or will be impossible. So I'm not sure what turn the book takes, and I hope people stick with us, and it could be a bit jumpy when we do it. It's just going to be one of those things, because there's a lot of personal stories from his voice at the moment, and then it will by default turn into something different at the end. We're yet to figure that out. But in recording some of it last night, I asked him the question what he would like to say to all the people who around the world who've lent such a beautiful part of the Lyle narrative in the last few years, 6 years in particular, and what they mean to him and how he'll remember them and what he'd like to say to them. And look, it was for the book. But when we left the room and Brian and I had a big chat and Jarrod agreed later, with their express permission, I want to stress that, because Andy, that I've battled with what to do with this little bit of audio.
Spent a long time talking about it.
Yeah, for the better part of the day here. And sorry, I don't want to make this at all sound about me, but it's really confronting to me to break a confidence, and I want to stress to people that it's not. But this is at Bry's request, because Bry has run out of words to express what's going on in the Lyle household. She's done such an amazing job. I could not be more praised. I couldn't give more praise to a woman for being so brave and eloquent and just stellar as a human being. And she wants us to play this audio and to answer that question. Jarrod, what would you say to all the people who've given you so much thanks and well wishes?
I feel like I'm the luckiest golfer going around, because so many people took an interest in me and took an interest in my fight. And to have so many friends around the world, with the spectators, with the golfers, with the marshals, whatever, to have that kind of support to go to every tournament is a great feeling. And it's going to be hard to leave that behind, but they know that I love them. They know that all the fighting that I did do was to get back out and play golf again. And, you know, to have the support from all those people was just a tremendous feeling. You know, and it's going to be hard, but at some point it's going to happen, and they'll get on with their lives. And it's just, yeah, I just feel very, very lucky.
So that is that's that's hard to listen to. It's harrowing. It's real, and it's a message to everybody who's shown an interest in the Lyle story and a connection to the individual. Very hard to listen to that, Stace.
It's that's very confronting. And I guess it just shows who he is as well. I mean, he's thanking us.
Oh, it's unbelievable.
I mean, yeah, thanks to him. You know.
Yeah,
that's actually really well said, Stace. I mean, here he is thinking of others, or at the time you'd excuse him for thinking of no one but himself.
He's still thinking of others.
Yeah, and it's really interesting to hear him say, Andy. Like, I've listened to that back a few times because I just can't believe it. But he also talks about, you know, not only the top end of town, but he talks about that he referenced the Marshalls.
He did. Yep.
It's like,
of course he did.
Who else?
Of course he did.
Who else thinks about the Marshalls?
Yeah, of course.
And there's so many stories today that on social media and on radio and everything like that have come forward. You know, he helped me at this clinic, or he came and visited my daughter in hospital, or I saw him at this pro-am and he gave me some awesome tips. And, you know, there's no stories like that of Tiger Woods.
Well, I can let people in. We've pre-recorded the interview that we're not too far away from playing with John Senden. And the assistance that Jarrod Lyle gave the Senden family when they hit a major hurdle about 18 months ago speaks volumes to Jarrod Lyle. And you'll hear it in the voice of John Senden when we speak to him, just how profoundly important that connection to Jacob Senden was Jarrod Lyle. I mean, you'll hear that. You'll hear it soon. So,
God, we've gone 53 episodes without a tearjerker, Andy.
Yeah, no, well, it's just hard to. It's hard to not be, have a human reaction to this one. I think so, and I don't think anyone listening is going to be terribly upset with the fact that we are just pretty upset. You know what you're going?
I was just going to say, there's been a lot of people who are moved and they don't know what to do. So talk, seek help if you need to, professional or just with your mates, talking guys and girls. But if you want to do something, I commend you to the Challenge
Spot on
charity, which is so dear to Jarrod's heart and Rob Allenby now and before him as well. Challenge.org.au. Make a donation in Jarrod's name.
Well, to that end, there's details will probably have emerged by the time you're listening to this, but they've got the remaining stock of the Luke the Duck head covers. They're going to find themselves at clubs all around Australia on Saturday week.
Okay.
They're going to try and clear the stock. So if you see one at your club, buy it. If you want to make a donation, buy it. If they get sold out, $150,000 finds its way straight to the Lyle family. And Dave Rogers, who's a power of a force of a human being from Challenge, who's deeply connected to the Lyle family and has been for quite some time, he and a group of his mates, and there'll be details on how to contribute to this soon, but they are going to put a trust fund together that they are aiming to raise $500,000 that will be put into that trust fund for the Lyle girls, Lucy and Gemma. So details will come to hand about that. Keep an eye, as Hazy rightly says, on challenge.org.au because the details will clearly be posted and signposted on that website. But there's...
And through golf.org.au.
Of course.
We'll keep everyone up to date as best we can. And I'm assuming and I'm sure that the same will apply on PGA's website too, so pga.org.au. So It's time we rallied.
If he was here right now, he'd say, right, enough about me, let's talk some golf. So let's talk some golf.
Good point.
Focus must turn to the women's game this week. The Women's British Open is clearly, even with the WGC event on the cards this week, it is the standout.
Has to be.
It
Major.
has to be. Of course it is.
Royal Lytham. The course that I hadn't played, Andy.
So we finally, I was confused when we walked away last week. We finally got to we got to the bottom of that, right?
Yes, no, I hadn't played Royal Lytham, yes.
So we're going to speak to Ellie Whittaker in a moment about how the course is presenting. Is it going to be in the same sort of nick as Carnoustie? We know they've had a really warm summer over in the UK. Is the course going to be playing short? What's the weather going to be like? We'll find out when we get to Elle in a moment. But
I was actually, just on that note, on course condition and stuff, I was talking with Catherine Kirk this morning, and she's saying it's an absolute beast. And she goes, if you give me even par right now, I'll take it.
Is that right?
Wow.
Yes.
Okay.
No
Good
jokes
intel.
there.
Good intel.
Yeah.
So that is interesting. It's going to it'll be a test of mind as much as technique and skill if it's going to be that tough. Not having your head come off its shoulders if the conditions are difficult.
And then Suo also said she said this was over a text, something about pop bunkers just everywhere and right in where I hit it. Right in where
Okay.
And this is the course famously where Adam Scott could have hit just about any other stick in the bag and stuck it in a bunker.
And he found one of those.
And obviously cost him probably his best shot at an Open Championship title on the men's side of things. Andy, I'm sure Ellie will talk about Kari when we get to her in a minute, but Kari Webb,
unbelievable.
To me, as much as I don't want to say it, she's not a force in the majors that happen in the United States. But she is, for all her part-timeness this year, she's a contender this week, Stace.
Absolutely. I mean, last week, her best finish probably since the Scottish last year.
Yeah.
Finished 11th last week.
A links powerhouse.
Absolutely. And I know that she loves that style of golf.
Oh, wouldn't that be a story if she was the one who actually got up and got into it?
It'd be unbelievable. I mean, and she's not going to lose control. Like she won't be hypertense. She's not going to, her world does not revolve around winning this week. She's won back in 2002, I think it was, won her previous British Open. But
nice stat there, Andy.
It was. I think I've probably got it wrong, and someone will point it out. Just dredging that up from somewhere. But she goes in comfortable in her life. You know, the hardcore days of competing for her are past her, but you know her.
I mean she still plays. She still plays with as much intensity and stuff. But I think off the course, she's much more relaxed about things. So in the end, that's got to help.
So give us the likelihood of her, from your perspective, being somewhere in the mix at some stage.
I 100% think so, and she showed it last week too.
Yep.
How awesome!
Yeah, gee, I definitely rate her a high chance next week.
This in a sport where, the women's side of things is littered with stories of 16, 18, 20-year-olds dominating and still are right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And sorry, Kari, but you're on the wrong side. So there's a 4 in front of a number there.
That's right. That's right.
And she's right among it. And I think it speaks volumes of why she's our best ever golfer, that she can do exactly this. Go over there on bugger all practice by her standards and contend.
Or game prep anyway.
Game prep, yeah. And contend. Because you got to think about your shots, you got to make shots. You don't just blast away, and that's the golf you girls grew up playing.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Especially from down here.
At a time when the depth in women's golf is at an all-time high, it's not as if she's going over there and there's only 3 or 4 players that she's got to contend with. There are dozens dozens and dozens of women now who can win. Having said that, the winner in Scotland was Araya Jatanagarn.
No, it wasn't.
No, go on.
It was Area. If we get Ellie on here and you're calling her Raya, she'll hang up.
It's Area. Is it Area?
It's
Area.
Oh my
God. Okay.
Yeah.
It's Area.
But we can't forget Minji, can we?
Well, that's where I was leading to.
Let's not forget about Minji coming
second. What a season she's putting together, Stace.
How's the consistency?
Ridiculous.
Hey? What's the stats on that one, Andy? What's
she
got?
Them in front of me, but
Ali will give it.
She'll have them. She'll have them.
I've got them.
Okay. How many top 10s?
Well, she won in Victoria. She was second in Canberra. She was 7th in Adelaide, then went overseas. She's had 2 more runner-up finishes now, another 3rd, and a victory.
That's unbelievable. That's an ATM, isn't it?
It is, yes, it absolutely is. And she's missed 1 cut, and she's finished outside the top 30 twice for the year. And top 30, I mean, you bank a big check on the LPGA if you finish top 30. And the only other person who's remotely doing that is Area. So she's got almost an identical record, but her wins haven't been in the Vic Open. They've been in the US Open and the Scottish Open. So her money tally is massive. Broke through the $2 million US barrier the other day, Jatena Gunn. Did you know that?
No, I didn't know that.
In July.
Wow. Still got 6 months to go.
It used to be a phenomenal thing to reach there at all, and it was only right at the end of the season. She's at $2 million already. The two of them, Minjee and Area, or obviously the other way around, Area and Minjee are so far out in front in their race to the CME Globe on the LPGA Tour, which is the equivalent of the FedEx Cup.
Yep.
It's extraordinary. They're so consistent.
Wow.
How are them for stats? How are them their stats?
You wanted stats. You wanted stats.
And he has got nothing written down, Andy.
No.
How is that? That's
all in
impressive.
that-
I've got notebook here.
That gigantic brain of his. All right, let's find out how Lytham and St Anne's is setting itself up for the Women's British Open this week. Our champion on the spot is Alison Whittaker, who's going to be... now, what are you doing, Al? Welcome to the show. Are you actually hosting the coverage, or you're out on the course? Before you tell us about conditions, what are your duties over there this weekend?
Well, there's 3 productions actually going on this weekend. So you've got the Golf Channel crew with all of their vans, and you've got the Sky guys from the UK with all of their vans, and then pretty much anyone that's not in the UK or the US will be watching us on the world feed. So I think it's just New Zealand, Australia, and Germany.
Well, that's what we'll be watching. We look forward to hearing your dulcet tones. So who's got the biggest stick in the fight? Is it the Golf Channel setup or the Sky Boys? Who's got the more impressive gear out there, do you reckon?
Well, I think the Golf Channel have the box on 18, which always looks super fancy. But I do love the Sky Zone that they have on the range, and they get players, and they pass players through the range and get them to hit kind of, low draws, or what do you have to do out of a pot bunker. They kind of walk them through that. So it's almost like a tutorial in the middle of the golf coverage, which I think is pretty dynamic. So that's going to be fun to watch, especially, I guess, when we get to watch it through social media channels, sadly. But Henny Goya, who is one of the former LNT players, she's a real dynamic part of that, actually. She's fantastic. So looking forward to seeing her working kind of semi-alongside her this week. But I've got Aussie Sandy McKenzie, who'll be out on course for our production, so you'll hear some familiar voices, which would be cool.
Ellie, we sat wide-eyed and watched the Open at Carnoustie, and obviously we watched Gullen last week with the women, and the courses are just, rugged and brutal, and they can bite you, or you can play good golf and shoot well like Minjee and Area. You hear that? Area.
We've had a couple of issues.
What are we going to see at Lytham and St Anne's?
Well, looking back in previous years, when we had the Scottish Open at Dundonald, and then it went to Kingsbarns last year, and 8 of the top 10 at Kingsbarns for the Open had actually played in the week before, and I think there's probably going to be, if anything, maybe a stronger correlation this year, because the 2 courses are far more similar than they were in 2017. Last week at Gullen, it's kind of a links course that's been put on a hill, just to give you an idea. So links courses are usually relatively flat, and so if you raised up a links course and kind of built a mountain underneath it, that's Gullen, and then we're back on an essentially flat piece of property now with Royal Lytham. So lots of pot bunkers, like it's kind of the classic links course. And I think that really brings out a lot of creativity from a few of the players. But there's a couple of kind of key things they're going to have to do to play well here, in my opinion.
And what might they be? Yeah, other than that, what else?
Well, to be honest with you, usually I think that most links courses set up well for low ball flighters, just to keep it low under the wind. There's not usually a lot of carries over bunkers into the greens and that kind of thing. So you saw that last week. You can chase a lot of golf balls up through the kind of the front opening to most greens. So you can kind of get away with not having a high soft ball flight. But it's a little bit different here at Royal Lytham, because there's actually a lot of greens that are raised up and a lot of collection areas and almost semi-upturned saucer greens, which isn't really that kind of quintessential links that you might have in your mind, but there's a few of them out there that might trip up some players that kind of come in with a super low ball flight. So ideally, I have to say, I mean, I've got a couple of favourites. If I'm just going to throw them out there, just to put them in the mix. I'm sure you guys had your picks. I'd love to know what they are.
As long as they've got an Aussie flag next to it, I'm okay with it, Elle.
Well, in terms of an Aussie selection, it's going to be very hard to go anywhere but Minjee after her performance next week. She hit an epic putt on the last hole. She just misread it.
Yeah.
I have to admit, I have one of those commentary moments where I'd read the putt before she stepped up to it, and I was like, if anything, right edge. And then I looked up and she was aiming left.
Oh, why didn't you stop her, Whittaker?
Well, I thought I'd read it wrong. Because I trust her in the moment rather than me in the commentary box, 100%. And then she hit it left edge and it missed. So, she did a lot of things except get the ball in the hole on that final day. And she played great as well.
Still another great finish. Yeah.
Well under par. So,
Ellie, before you move on from that, can I ask you a question? Her putt on the 13th green, I've watched it 65 times and still can't figure out how it didn't go in.
Yes.
We had a lot of that actually during the final round, where I was trying to work out why her putts weren't going in, because she was hitting good putts, and she's such a prodigious ball striker in pretty much every category that if the putts are dropping, she usually wins. That's what her coach Richie Smith has said that time and time again. That if the putts are going in, she might walk away with the trophy. So. I do actually really genuinely like her chances around here. But tell me what your picks are.
So outside, I'll go.
Give away all my answers.
Outside of the Australian flags, I'm tipping Georgia Hall.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah.
Played well last year. Yeah, good.
Yeah, had 2 top 10s coming into the majors last year as well. So she's a great choice. Yeah,
she's my pick. What about you two?
And what about Tiff? Elle, great couple of rounds last week. Do you think? How do you think she can bring that over? After qualifying as well?
Yeah, Californian, Tiff Joe. She had quite a long day on Monday.
Yeah, didn't she? What?
She was out at 6:40 in the qualifier AM.
After a 4-hour drive on Sunday night?
Exactly.
Plus 4 hours sleep. Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's usually what she functions off anyway. But she ended up in I think it was a 12-way playoff.
Yeah, for the last...
Around about 8 p.m. at night.
Wow.
So she was there the entire day. She had no car, no way of going anywhere anyway.
Yeah, okay.
So she literally just sat around all day. So she's had a pretty big week, but her form last week was really good. I think if you get a little nervous off the tee, which I think we saw a little bit more maybe from Tiff on the third round at Gullen.
Yeah, with not being in a position like that before, she'll only learn from that.
Oh, definitely, yeah. Well, it's just more about, I think, confidence off the tee given the wind here, because there's a lot of doglegs left where the wind is off the left. So there's a couple of quite awkward tee shots that you're going to have to be really kind of bullish, I think, in terms of your lines off the tee. So I loved watching her perform well. Obviously, she's a good friend of mine. But, I mean... Hazy, are you going to chime in with yours?
Yeah, well, I like Minjee. Let's get that on the record. But if I can't have the flag, then I'm going to go for Carlotta Saganda.
Yes,
and
definitely.
And it was a strange. I'm not sure if you've heard of this woman before, but Area someone. I can't remember her last name. I just know Area.
And I don't think we can go past our own Curry Webb, can we, Elle? After some good form last week.
3-time champion.
Yeah, and loves the wind, loves the link-style golf. I think it's hard to go past her as well. That's not me being biased either. That's picking with my head, not my heart.
Yeah, a little bit. One of the things I love about what's going on with Webby at the moment is she's actually, despite playing a very limited schedule, this will be her 8th event of the season this year, she actually has a fantastic caddy on the bag in Peter Godfrey. And I know, Stace, you know Peter quite well, but he was on the bag for Lydia Ko. He was on the bag for Eri Jutanagam when she won, I want to say, 3 of her 5 wins back in 2016.
Yep.
English bloke, but just a really good presence on the golf course for her. So she's really lucked out getting a caddy of that calibre. given that she's not actually playing that much.
Yeah, with a limited schedule. That's a good point.
So who are you tipping, Al?
Well, I've got a few. I think my dark horse that people might not really know about, and she does have an Aussie connection, is Jin Young Ko.
Yes.
So Jin Young's currently leading the LPGA Rookie of the Year race. She's got Dean Herden on the bag. Australian Dean Herden. And he's a wealth of knowledge. If you ever want to talk literally anything inside the last 50 years of golf, go find Dean. And then, of course, I mean, if you're looking at anything that Inbee Park is teeing up in, I don't think she's going to play a whole lot throughout the rest of the year. So if she's playing, she's here because she wants to win.
Okay.
I saw her out in the practice round yesterday. Again, another Aussie on the bag, Brad Beecher. There's a theme here. I think I'm pretty biased, actually. In that respect, but.
You're respecting
Anyway,
the flag,
so,
which
yeah.
I like. That's good.
Yeah, definitely. Well, Inbee Park, Eri Jutanagan, you'd be hard pressed to bet against her, but In Kyung Kim as well. She played here when it was last held in 2009. She's last year's champion, and she finished, I think, inside the top 20 last time. She came out, actually, about 2 weeks ago, played Royal Lytham. She didn't have her clubs, which has been a common theme for her this year, and she shot 67 around Royal Lytham with a set of rentals.
That's unbelievable.
Oh, my goodness.
That makes you feel sick in the guts.
Yeah, it does.
Somebody doing that.
I know. I think about physical harm, but then I remember that she's a friend. So.
Have you got any others that we need to know about before we? I just want, because we haven't. You've said a couple of things you got to do right, but we'd heard reports that the course was in kind of pretty brutal setup. Is that true?
It's not going to be easy. Looking in particular at the final 4 holes, so 15 through 18 on Sunday, it's not going to be one of those golf courses where you see someone necessarily go birdie finish for the glory. This is like a golf course where you put your seatbelt on for the final finish and you just hope that what you do is enough, really. You go through those 4 holes in even par and you are only going to gain shots on the field.
And you've just got to hit it around Adam Scott's skeletons.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to bring it up.
Oh, no.
The girls will have learnt from that.
Yeah.
Al, we're going to be we'll be watching and we'll be listening to your magnificent coverage across the pictures that we're going to be getting back here. We can't wait. It is the championship that we're looking forward to most this weekend, and we can't wait. We all think that we're going to have an Australian in the mix somewhere down the stretch. History will tell us that one of them will be there when the whips are cracking. Let's hope you're there to see one of them boot at home. Al, we appreciate you joining us. Go and eat the kippers and the black pudding for brekkie, and we'll speak to you later.
Sounds great.
Good on you.
Thanks, Ali.
Alison Whittaker joining us on Inside the Ropes. A lot to look forward to. We'll get a break out of the way. Oh, no, there's a couple of other, before we get to the break, a couple of other Australian girls we need to make note of, Stace, before we get to the break.
Yes, we were going to touch on the Symetra Tour.
Yes, we were.
Stephanie Nah had her best finish of the year, 3rd place, and it was a bit of a drama-filled weekend for Steph, actually. Big rain delays. It got cut back to 36 holes. Things got pushed back late. She was going to do final qualifying for the British Open. She missed flights, couldn't get another one, so couldn't get to the British Open.
Theory, mate.
Yeah, so couldn't get to the qualifying, but big dramas. But got her best place for
good finish.
So 3rd finish,
really good finish.
Great for Steph, and really hope she can roll with that because she'd probably be the first to admit she hasn't had the best of seasons. So let's hope she can finish strong on that.
And tell us about Karis.
Also, yes, Karis in Japan the last few weeks has had some really solid results. Karis Davidson playing on the ladies Japanese tour. She's had a 8th and a 4th place recently. So, and she's positioned, I think, maybe 42nd or so this week on the money list. So,
awesome.
Really solid rookie season.
Outstanding work.
Really good.
Let's get a break out of the way. Inside the Ropes, you're listening to, when we come back, John Senden to join us.
Hi, I'm Minji Lee, and I'm proud to be an ambassador for MyGolf, Australian Golf's national junior program. One of my favourite things about coming back to Australia is seeing all the kids getting into golf. MyGolf is every Aussie kid's first step on their golfing pathway. It's all about fun and friendship, learning golf and life skills in a safe and healthy environment. So, If your child is between 5 and 12 years old, be sure to find a program near you at mygolf.org.au.
G'day guys, I'm Scott Hend. I'm around the world playing golf everywhere, but when I can, I love listening to Inside the Ropes.
Welcome back to the show, Inside the Ropes. Difficult week, obviously, and a man who's known from a family perspective, his challenges in the last couple of years is one of Australia's finest international players, 47 years young he is now. He's back with the clubs in hand, having had to deal with some really serious personal issues. Of course, I talk about John Senden, who joins us on the show. John, thanks so much for joining us on the program.
Oh, it's a pleasure to be here today with you guys, and great to talk to you guys. And it's good to, as you said, it's good to have the clubs back in hand.
How does it feel to be back in the swing of things?
Yeah, it's been a challenge. And as you know, with Jacob, my son Jacob, who was 13 at the time, he got diagnosed with a malignant brain tumour, which was basically life-threatening at the time, and once we found out exactly what the details were with Jacob, we had to go through a series of chemotherapies and radiation to try and get him, back in shape. So, but no, things are sort of been positive, and so it really is sort of like still a bit of a challenge for him now and for the rest of his life, just to try and stay healthy. And with things a little bit better than they were back in 17, I was unable to make some decisions about playing the game again. So back out there on the Pga Tour and trying to get the same feels back. It's kind of like tricky. But anyway, we're getting there.
Just one last on Jacob, because I don't want to talk about it for too long, Sendo, but is he well?
Yeah.
He's just, he's well in his world and living life fully?
Look, Hazy, he's in a position right now where he had the brain tumour was actually blocking the fluid, which was actually then distributed back down through the top of the brain and into the brain stem and down, and that gets down and absorbed by the body. And that was the initial, the whole initial symptoms of headaches, feelings, and really discomfort. So once they found out, they found out that this particular the MRI, through the MRI, it was basically, had to go through 2 surgeries to actually get this whole thing sorted out. In regard, the first one was getting the fluid off the brain, which took away the headache straight away, and then biopsy, which was the next one. So once that happened, he was in a lot better place. And then they knew that from that point on, you had to go through the series of chemotherapies and radiation treatments, which went from like April 2017 right through to November 2017. So at the moment, he is in a better place. But, it's still in there. It's gone from possibly like the size of your thumbnail down to sort of size of your, just a little bit smaller than your pinky fingernail. So probably produced about, reduced about 75%. And now it's a case of management rather than getting it out, because they can't really just go and scoop it out because of the quality of life. And, there's very sort of difficult complications if they go in there and just try and get it out.
Sure.
So he's got to manage it now for the rest of his time. So,
and he's just a little rock star. I know everyone around the PGA Tour loves him, and to see him outside the ropes watching you play is just one of the most heartwarming things you can ever see. So we, please give him and Jackie all our love about this, especially, mate, today. And we have to ask you about this, unfortunately, on a day when we learn so much about Jarrod Lyle. It must really hit hard for you.
Yeah, it is hard, and especially when someone has been such a giver of friendship, and and in a position where he is such a fighter and he loves his family. He's got the daughters, and Bryony is just so together and strong to try and get Jarrod healthy again. And it's just such a sad thing that you get a person gets so much treatment and has so much going on in their body that the body just starts to shut down. And I don't know the full details, but it's very, very difficult. And to know that he has actually had to go through that 3 times with leukemia, and also try and come out of it at the other end and be healthy. And it's just tough to see that, the body just doesn't want to work it anymore. And it's a tough deal for his family and Bryony and the girls. And now he's just trying to find some peace to try and get his young daughters and Bryony through this whole situation and forever going forward. So we're really saddened. I remember when, playing golf with Jarrod a few times and got to know him a little bit. And he was just, such full life and just and one of the most, unbelievable persons you ever want to meet. And, but also he was one of the first persons to reach out when Jacob got sick. And that was, April 2017. And he gave him, so much support. It was amazing. So, I just feel that, Jacob is just, it's been an inspiration for Jacob to know that Jarrod has been on his side and know that, that his heart is so huge that he has just given Jacob the strength as well. And as much strength as Jarrod's got, I mean, it's quite unimaginable that, to make a 13-year-old boy just latch on and understand fully what he's going through as well. And unless it hits your own family, you never understand. And I can't imagine what's going through their minds right now. And because we sort of felt that, it worked out positively at the moment for Jacob, but, with Jarrod, it was just a never-ending battle. And it's just so sad to see guy having to be dealt with that for over half of his life. It's just really crazy. And but we stand in today and just salute Jarrod for how strong he is, for how he has just battled and battled and battled. Not for himself, his family. Yeah. You know what I mean? And because he's giving back his life to make sure that other people are okay, and that is so strong. And it's just warming, and to know that that's what his heart is about, and he knows that he's going to go away knowing that. You know what I mean? It's just really wicked, and and we're in such a better place because we've known Jarrod, especially with what Jake has been through. And golf's golf, you know what I mean? All it is what we do, but life's so different. And knowing Jarrod has just, helped out so much for what we've been through, because he understands. And Jacob understands what his own body's going through, because it's hit our family pretty hard too. But it's just, we're all in it together almost. That's what we feel. And, we're just trying to sort of get our head around, what the Lyle family's going through, and it's so difficult.
Gee, you said that beautifully, John. Magnificent words, and you're 100% right. What have you learnt about? You knew about Jarrod Lyle already, and you probably have learned things about your own family through the ordeal that you've been through. But, mate, what have you learned about the community that you're part of? The Rubik's cube patches that the players wore for you. The yellow hats and the Luke the Duck that has become a symbol of Jarrod's fight. What have you learnt about the golfing community that you're such a part of? Yeah,
well, it's the PGA Tour and the Australian PGA Tour and all the golfing community, have got just got behind us so much. And we've realised that people are good, you know what I mean? People really care, you know what I mean? And it's, sometimes it's sort of like, when you sort of something happens, or someone gets hurt, or someone is sick, and it takes something to happen for the people that get behind you. But always it happens, to a fact that people are so good and they care and they want to know. They want to know. All they want to do is just get on the phone to you and just say, hey, how you going? Well, that's all they need to say with the people, and to know that just for the people that are sick or the families that are going through it, they just want to know that, that the people care. And people do care. The amount of people that have reached out, I'm sure, to Jarrod over the time, and the people that have reached out to us, And I still get the comments when I'm out there playing. I was in Canada last week at the John Deere Classic 2 weeks before, and it's like, for someone that doesn't see you for a while, you sort of, they say to you, how's your boy? What's the latest? All this sort of stuff, because people care.
Yeah.
And, and it's like, a lot of people care. We had a little charity day for Jacob last year at my home club at Capera, and the room was full. There was 350 people there, you know what I mean? And that was just amazing. And, every time he turned up to, I haven't turned up to the Australian tournaments just yet, but, especially the PGA Tour, they all out there reaching out and, getting phone calls from people that you haven't spoke to in 10 years, you know what I mean? Or people that you don't expect to hear from, they call you up and they say, hey, how you going? It's sad to hear what happened, but, if you need anything, we're here to help. One of the amazing people, that we all look up to in our whole life and on the Australian golf community was Greg Norman. Greg Norman reached out to me and said, hey, we're really, really sad to hear what happened to Jacob, but the next question was, how's he going? What's happening? You know what I mean? And that's just like, it's the top of the top sometimes that reach out and ask you, all they ask you is just how things are going, how are you? They want to know how you feel, and you tell your story. And I'm really glad to be able to share my story with you guys today on the radio. It's like it's good to let people know what other people think of the whole situation, and they call you up and they care about it and they want to know, and because it's serious, it's life threatening, and it's not just playing golf and have a chat about golf. It's the life, and it's going to be ongoing for Jacob for the rest of his life. It's not out of there. It's still in the middle of his brain, and they can't get rid of it because it's growing out of one of these a gland called the pineal gland, and that is serious. They can't just dig it out. The reason if they do dig it out and touch that gland or that nervous area, it's going to be factors of, it could be permanent blindness, it could be loss of memory, it could be brain dysfunctionality, all this crazy stuff. That's why we've been so blessed with also the Children's Medical Hospital system over here, and the oncology team and the neurosurgeon that got him there had the belief that he could go in there and just take a biopsy, take a piece out. I mean, it's amazing, you know what I mean? And here's a guy that's a neurosurgeon that's, told us what he's going to do, and he's saving my son's life. It's amazing, mate. And that's what people do. This, it is. It's just unreal. And I'm so thankful and grateful for the people and the smart people that are surrounding us. You guys, the tour, family, friends, they're all there, and they've all been unbelievable to us.
You can hear
to help us through this situation. Exactly.
You can hear the emotion in your voice, Sendo. It's pretty touching, and
it is. It's real.
Yeah.
It is real, and we didn't know anything about it until it hits home and it hits your own family, and I know that you've probably got some other whether people listening to say that it's affected their lives, because it's their own family. You don't know how much it affects you until it affects your own, and it's crazy. Yeah, but you know what? He's in a better place right now, and hopefully, with prayers and friends and family and support, that he can keep continuing that way.
When you finish with us in 10 or 15 minutes here, Sendo, please, let Jacob know that he's got a whole country, his own country here, pulling for him too. So
we've already felt that from Australia and the support that's come back. I've been back a couple of times now to Australia, and the people that come up to you and just put your arms around you and just know that they're in full support, and it's great. You know what I mean? It's just great because we know that they're there, we know that they care, and that has so much helped the situation at hand to move on, to move forward, and to make good decisions on what we need to do in our lives, and especially for Jacob. You know what I mean? Like he's a fighter, he's a fighter like Jarrod. I don't think that any adult can go through what he goes through sometimes and be given the full, serious treatment. I mean, it was just amazing, and to watch him, and it was tough to watch, but he came out the other end. And, he was a battler and he was a fighter, like just exactly how sort of Jarrod did it, and he did it for. He tried to do it for himself, but I believe more importantly for his own family and his closest friends and that sort of business. So it's crazy.
John, it feels kind of trivial asking you about golf, after all of this, because, the stuff that you're talking about is, big ticket, real life, right at the core of what we're doing on this planet. But so let me couch it in this way. In terms of what you've been through as, a dad and a husband and a part of a family, how does it change your perspective on, what the rest of your professional golfing career looks like?
Yeah. Oh, you know what? Golf has been so great to me over the years, and to be able to compete, and do the exact thing that I really loved about my life was to play golf at the highest level, played the Australian Tour, played all over the world. We played Asia and Europe, and then my whole goal was to get to America, and you write down in your book, you win major championships, all this sort of business, and you love it. You know what I mean? You want it, and to be able to to sort of stand up there and do your job well for years and years and years, and then all of a sudden life treats you like how it's been treated with us in April 2017 with Jacob being sick. Puts a whole new perspective on life. And I had to put I didn't touch a club for 4.5 months. And, and then all of a sudden, when things started to turn around, we spent a whole 12 months trying to get Jacob pretty much, back on the swing of things again. And thank God that it has been positive situations in regards to his prognosis and his health. And he's had to fight through the whole situation, and he's come out of it the right way. And that has been so great. But now, with trying to make a decision to do what I really love to do again, has been tricky. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because I've been out of the game for so long, and for years and years I've been in such great rhythm of playing tournament after tournament. Played a lot compared to other pro golfers on the US Tour or the Australian Tour as well, because we've supported the tour for 19 years or so on the Australian Tour, and then also or more. And now you play between 28 and 32 events a year, and this year I've played 6. You know what I mean? And now you're trying to find this feel of trying to compete again at the highest level, and you're trying to not search for the feel to play the game at a high level again, but it feels different because the game and the clutch and the lack of play has actually possibly, damaged that rhythm of just playing at a nice level and having that inner confidence and belief that you can just continue on and do what you do well.
And do you still want to do it? Do you still want to do it as badly? Do you want it as badly now, John, as you maybe wanted it kind of 10 or 15 years ago? Has that changed at all?
Well, life changes all the time, you know what I mean? Because all of a sudden you play golf. It was just Jackie and myself when we first got on tour, and it was all systems go. We're traveling all the time, and you really want it. And then when family comes along, you still want it just as bad, but priorities change. Yeah. I mean, you're looking, you're watching your kids, grow up, and dynamics of life is different. And sometimes you might feel that, hey, you're away for a few weeks, and all you want to do is get home sometimes because you want to watch your kid grow, or Jacob's playing soccer, or you want to go home and play golf with him, or that sort of stuff. So a little bit of dynamic change in your lifestyle, but the want to actually still win tournaments is still there, and we all go out there and try and win every week, but it changes. It feels different, and then when this sort of situation happens, it is basically trying to get us, back into the rhythm of wanting to get good again. But the thing is that with the situations now, it's just sort of making some good decisions in your preparation, almost. You know, when you don't do anything for 12 months, and then you try and play at the highest level again, all of a sudden you feel things are different, and you've got to actually work harder, dig in the dirt more to actually get the feels back. And I still want it. You know what I mean? Like, I'd love to play the game for another, 10 years.
Yeah.
It'd be nice to keep on playing. I'm 47 now, 48 in April next year. I'd love to play Pga Tour all the way and then sort of 50 and then play the Senior Tour. Why not? Because it'll be fun. And compete. You know what I mean? Because I know that the same guys when I was first on tour back in 2002 are the same guys that are going to be out there on the Senior Tour.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's almost like you're sort of turning the wheel backwards a little bit. You know what I mean? And compete with the same guys again. So that'll be fun.
So Sendo, I mean, everyone in the whole world of golf has admired your swing. Is that as it was when you picked the clubs up again? Was that how it was? Did it just roll out like that, or have you worked hard to get it back where it is now when we watch you play on TV?
Yeah, well, that's a good question. Yeah, because the golf swing is still the same, but the feels are different. You know what I mean? Because you are trying to sort of get this rhythm in your swing, and you're trying to produce the same shots. The biggest challenge is the mental challenge, and being able to feel good about your swing to go out there and just down on the first tee and trust it. That is something that, if I was, say, if you rewind the clock back to like 2013 or 14, the percentage of times I'd get all that right were probably, if they were in the, say, 80%. Well, right now I feel like I'm at 70%. That 10% difference sometimes can be the slowing down of momentum in a round, or could be the difference of decision making, or how you feel inside you when you're actually, stepping up there on the first tee of, say, the Sony in Hawaii, or the Byron Nelson Championship in Dallas, or all this sort of stuff. And as I said this year before, you've got to work really hard to get back to those similar feels. Now, when you were 35, the body feels different to when you were, 47 years of age right now. So you've got to adjust. You've got to accept. And that's the challenge that we face now. And that's what I'm trying to do over the next at least 5 years of playing golf again, and trying to compete well and go out there and just enjoy it. You know what I mean? Because golf's been so good to me over the years, and we've played the Australian Tour and Europe and America. America's been so good to me. The people and the Australian Tour, all the guys, and let's just go out there and enjoy ourselves and try and really relax, keep working hard, and finish the career off.
So, Sendo, before we let you go, do you have a monetary figure that you've got to achieve now that you've come back midway through the year? What's the status for you to keep your card for 2019?
Yeah, good question. Right now, when I come back from the medical, what they call a major medical extension, and I had 13 starts for the PGA Tour, and I've already played 6 of them, and so I've got like 7 starts left. And so right now, it's based on the FedEx Cup points, and I'm still playing in basically the 2017 season. So right now, I think I've got about 80 points up, and you probably need over 300 to keep your card. So I've got a bit of work to do.
Okay.
And keep at it. But I'm just out there now just to believe that I can really get my card back, and hopefully play PGA Tour up until the age of 50, and I'll keep working hard to try and achieve that goal. So that's the short-term goal for me right now. So I just have to go out there and enjoy myself and go out there and do it.
Well, we're all backing you to do it back here, John. It's been a tough 24 hours for all Australian golf fans. We're so completely delighted to hear about Jacob's positive progress. We need some good news on a day like this. Yeah. So it's going to be, as you said a couple of times on the way through, it's a constant work in progress, but it's heading in the right direction, mate. Hopefully, that continues to be the case. Yeah,
exactly. We're just saying a little prayer for the Lyle family tonight, and we give all of our love and support to Bryony and the girls, and hopefully Jacob and Jarrod can be peaceful that's all we can ask for. So
you're a good man, Sendo.
Bless his heart.
John, thanks for coming on the show. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Good on you.
Guys, enjoyed talking to you guys today.
So
Thanks,
did we,
Sendo.
very much. John Senden, a very special guest on Inside the Ropes. We'll have a bit of a think about all of that. We'll clear a break, come back with more on the other side of this.
Hi, this is Sherelle McMahon. Swing Fit is the fun, healthy, social way for women to get started in golf. You'll learn the basics of the golf swing and how to putt over a 6-week program and get your whole body moving through yoga and Pilates-style exercises. You don't need any golf knowledge or equipment. Simply turn up in comfy clothing and get started. You'll be surrounded by like-minded people and receive constant support. So get outdoors, meet new friends and learn a sport that you can play for the rest of your life. To find a program near you, visit swingfit.com.au.
G'day, it's Nick O'Hearn here. Whenever I get the chance, I catch up with Inside the Ropes to follow up on all the latest golf, and I urge you to all do the same. It's a great show.
Welcome back to the show. Great to have you with us. Great catching up with John Senden. He's a very decent human being, that man.
He's a great fella, and he agreed to come on after the Canadian Open quite some time ago, and I don't think he thought that was be the line of questioning, but obviously that events of the day took us in that direction. But I don't think he minded, and definitely, right at the end there, he conveyed his really strong thoughts and passion for Jarrod. So what a good, solid human being he is, and I know, Andy, that everyone at Capera hangs off every word.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's a touring pro who's been more aligned with a club than John Senden and Capera. Maybe back in the day there was, but he gets back there at the drop of a hat. So
That's remarkable.
He's a cracker, and everyone in Brisbane still loves him dearly.
So you're talking about women's money earlier on the show with Jitanagan and Minjee Lee. He's been out there for a long time, this bloke, and he's been a perennial top 50, top 75 player. So he's been a top class pro on the biggest tour for a long time, Senden. So it shouldn't come as any surprise. He's won nearly $21.5 million.
Wow.
In the PGA Tour.
Right?
Yep.
That's amazing.
Over the career.
You know what? I'm just trying to guess a year here. I want to say 1998, roughly.
Yep.
I was a member at Eagle Hawk Golf Club in Bendigo, and a couple of my mates made it somewhere up to the final of the Holden Scramble. And he was still a pro playing Holden Scramble things at that time.
Wow.
It wasn't long before he went across to the States.
Yeah.
But if you told him at that stage, John, you're going to end up earning $21 million on the US Tour from a Holden Scramble final, that's unbelievable.
Not that there's anything wrong with the Holden Scramble.
No, and some
chance.
great pros go there, but not many who play in towards the final are going to go on and make $20 million.
Hope I read that right. Great story, and it's a week when we need as many good stories as we can get. Richard McAvoy at start number 200 and whatever it was, 58, there you go, on the European Tour. 3-time winner on the Challenger, 2 or 3 times on the secondary tour over in Europe. The Englishman prevails. It was. Did you two start up and watch the final round in Hamburg? That absolutely terrible golf course in Germany that they played this thing on.
I saw a fair bit of it. Yeah,
it was fit. Some of the best players, Reed and DeChambeau, which we were talking about, and our own Scotty Henn, and Paul Casey. There were some high class world pros making some of the dumbest mistakes you would ever not wish to see on a big last Sunday in a pretty significant event.
With water behind and in front, and they just don't take it out of play.
Sucker pins and just firing at them. And, had any one of those guys, any of those world-class players had their chance again, if they knew what the other blokes were going to do, they would have been hitting middle of greens, 2 putting. They would have, their strategy going to the last round would have been completely different.
Yeah,
I think Bryson would have his last 4 holes again. Don't you think?
Well, he played the last 4 holes like a 25 handicapper. I mean, he literally was a 25 handicapper. It was staggering what he did. He finished bogey, par, triple, having led on 13 or 13. I reckon he's leading the championship. Shoots 78 the final round, 43 the back 9. He's a fascinating study in the last 2 weeks, this bloke. Now, we all know about the methodical nature and the scientific approach and the mathematical equations that he applies to his golf. Some vision was revealed at Bryson DeChambeau from Carnoustie and it's on the Golf Channel website. I'm sure you can find it elsewhere. During the practice round, one of the practice rounds leading, he's got his entourage standing on a tee, and he's just hitting balls off the tee. Look like a 3-wood. Things going left, right, not finding the middle of the club face. Bloke goes into complete meltdown. This is all captured on video. He's doubled over in physical and emotional pain at the way he's walking away from his entourage. He's sort of got the hand up on the wall and he's burying his face in his arms. He's so distraught at the way he's hitting the ball. Now, he finishes tie 51 in the Open, so he makes the cut. It wasn't a disaster like if you watch this vision in isolation, you imagine it was going to be. But the disaster occurred holes 15, 16, 17, 18 a week later in Germany. The meltdown, it was like the motherboard just overloaded and smoke started and sparks are flying left, right and centre out of his brain. Did you watch, he was hitting it everywhere in those last couple of holes.
Yeah, I watched the highlights of that, the last 4 holes just last night actually. And then obviously the handshake, which maybe we'll get to.
We will,
yeah. But it's like, he was just pulling driver where the commentator said he hadn't pulled driver. It was like he really was, I think, having a meltdown. Yeah. It's like he wasn't thinking straight.
But the worst thing too, Stace, from your perspective, if you keep missing one, you want to miss it the same way. So at least he's missing it 40 metres left, then he's hitting the next one 80 metres right.
Yep.
He was
like those couple of shots on 18. I mean, he had no control of that whatsoever.
No.
And I say that's definitely mental. Mm-hmm.
So it was hard to watch. Then the handshake. So he's playing with McAvoy, who wins the championship. He subsequently apologised to this DeChambeau.
On social media.
On social media.
That counts, doesn't it?
But the handshake, to explain what you saw when it was all over.
There was zero eye contact with the handshake. Yeah, it was a handshake. It was a handshake and turn away.
It was make contact with the bloke and then get away from him as quickly as I can.
Yeah, I mean, come on, this guy's just had his first win. Let's show a little bit of excitement. Okay, you've just taken triple and lost the tournament, but come on, you understand. You're a golfer. You've got, Yeah, it was really disappointing to see because I've heard a lot of good things about Bryson.
Exactly the same.
I really have.
First thing I thought of was Greg Norman. How Greg Norman has had, in terms of golf devastation to being visited upon him, he's had more than his share in his life as a golfer.
Yeah.
Greg Norman takes the hat off. 1996, hat comes off, hand goes out. Well done, you got me on the day.
There's
he
an
faces
embrace.
The media after. Yep. He does it all, Norman, and he did it all the way through his career, no matter how galling the defeat might have been. Tell you what, this bloke DeChambeau could take a leaf out of Greg Norman's book, I reckon.
Yeah, it was disappointing to see. And I mean, I don't know him personally, so I can't comment on that. But yeah, I had heard some good things.
A bit of raging debate on social media. There's a lot of people who think it's one of the worst acts they've seen for quite a while, and others are saying, "Mate, he shook his hand. Suck it up." And I'm sort of a little bit towards the former because I think it's poor form. But we've grown up with Greg Norman doing that, or Adam Scott at Lytham, as we mentioned before. You suck it up and you put your hand out because there's nothing you can do at that point other than make a knob of yourself.
Yeah, it was poor form. It was just really poor form.
Yeah, it's bad sportsmanship.
It was,
I mean,
exactly.
to not look at someone when you shake their hand? Well, I think that's just rude.
Yeah. So 38 years of age, McAvoy does it. Great story.
What a putt.
Yeah, how good was the putt?
It's great.
Yeah, phenomenal. And he seems like a really good bloke. So
everybody says, all the people you like the look of rate him very highly. So DJ wins in Canada, missed the cut the week before. Third season victory, gets back to number one on the money list. We've spent a bit too much time talking about money, but he's now won $6.75 million this season.
On the course.
Yep. Yeah, on the course, exactly.
Right. And becomes, I think everyone's probably seen the stat now, but in the past decade, he's now won more tournaments than Tiger, taking over the mantle as number one of most tournaments subsequent 2008. Did you know that?
Explain that again.
Before,
I don't understand what you're saying.
Before Dustin Johnson won at Glen Abbey, he was second or equal leader with Tiger Woods in terms of tournaments won on the tour since 2008.
Oh, okay, right. Yeah.
So he's now, you think of all the tournaments Tiger won in 08 and 09 and then back again in 2013 and probably 2015. He's now gone past him, and I panned him for quite a while, Andy, about his mental prowess. Well, I should have my mental prowess seriously questioned, because that's an amazing stat.
He's just such a phenomenally good striker of the golf ball. I mean, it's insane how good just a pure player he is. He might not be the greatest strategist, but he might be better at that than we think he is. He's certainly got his wedge game. That is improved out of sight.
That's where I think it's changed.
Don't you reckon
Yeah,
that's got
absolutely.
so much better? I haven't looked at the numbers, but compare that aspect of his game from, say, 120 in now to, say, 3 or 4 years ago. It's chalk and cheese.
Yeah, I'm sure, without seeing the stats, I'm sure that's where I feel he's made the biggest difference.
I'll be the voice of Clayton. That's because he doesn't have to practice his 4 irons.
That's right, exactly.
So it's driver and wedge.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's where I think he turned his focus to, because
why wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't it?
Exactly.
But he stands on a tee that's got a challenging drive, and he'll rein it back in and fly it 300 yards and let it run out to wherever with a baby fade. So he's reined it back in to 85% of his capacity to hit the intricate drive when it's needed. Others are busting their gut to get it out that far, and he's got it completely under control. It's an extraordinary advantage he has.
Mm-hmm.
So Miguel Angel Jimenez wins the Senior British Open from Bernard Langer. A couple of blokes who had their putters a bit too close to their bodies for my liking in that tournament. And as much as I love Bernie, I'm always happy to see him not win when he's doing that. Scotty McCarron was the other one who, God only knows how they get away with it, but they do.
Yeah. Dave McKenzie was up there.
Great result. Now, was he using the big punter, Dave? He has in the past. I'm not sure.
Don't know, actually.
Much of him, but
yeah.
Tied 14, 9 back, so it was a great result for him. And let's face it, we need some good news this week. Yeah. Where better to turn from Dave McKenzie on one end of the spectrum to the young fella you're about to introduce us to, Hazy, on the other. This is a good news story.
Yeah, this is. I've been looking forward to talking to our next guest here, Andy. He's a great young fella, and he put himself in position at the. Well, I'm not going to say time-honoured because it's not something we know too much about, but a very respectable tournament, the Cotton States Invitational in Monroe, Louisiana. Blake Collier, I just want to set the scene here for you, was even with the card through 9 holes in the final against a Texan called Gonzalez. And he was 1 down in the match play final. Blake Collier, welcome. What happened after that?
Hey guys, thanks for having me.
Thanks for getting up and taking the call, mate.
That's all right. Yeah, the next 7 holes kind of changed a little bit from my front nine. I played the next 7 holes in 6 under, which included a hole in 1. So.
Right.
Can we get a bit more, more specific, Blakey? Give us birdies, eagles, hole-in-ones. How did it roll out?
So I went birdie,
10,
rolled a huge par putt on 11, then 12. I rolled in at a 12-foot birdie putt.
These all for wins, or what are we?
Yeah, both the birdie putts are wins.
Yep.
And then we halved the next. Then I won the 14th with a birdie, and then won the 15th with a hole-in-one.
So how did your opponent take that? Obviously, you would have had the honour. How did that go after that?
Yeah, well, he was right next to me when I hit it, and it was looking pretty good the whole way. And then as soon as it went in, he kind of came straight up to me and gave me a high five. And then I had Kyle Michelle caddying for me, so I went straight over to him, and we were just jumping around and couldn't believe that it actually went in. So
is it true you nearly holed out the day? Is it true you nearly holed out in the semi-final on the same hole?
Yeah, well, I had exactly the same distance in the semi-final and hit it to about 2 feet. So I just had that kind of like feeling of what the swing was to hit it close, and it was, yeah.
And it was hunting the flag the whole way, wouldn't it? Like you told me the other day that it just absolutely lays it in on the pin right from the start.
Yeah, it never really looked like it was going to leave the pin, but I've only had 1 hole in 1, so I'd never really crossed my mind that it would go in. And then after the first bounce, it was just gone.
And you saw it. It wasn't one of those ones where it wasn't a raised green. You actually saw the ball go in the hole.
Yeah, I saw it go in. It was only 116 metres, so...
Over lake,
over a lake, if you don't mind.
I can't imagine, Blake. I can't imagine Gonzalez standing on the tee going, "Jeez, I've got to hold this for a half."
Well, he stood up to his ball and he's like, "I can't believe I've got to hold this for half the hole."
So you're making a habit of doing this sort of stuff, aren't you? These dramatic closeouts. This is something that in recent times you've been doing a fair bit of.
Yeah, it seems to happen a few times, and I kind of can step up in the moment and make the putts and shots when I need to. So
tell us what you did at Riviera.
Yeah, well, I was a few out of the cut line with a few holes to go, and
this is qualifying for the 2017 US Amateur.
Qualifying. So I eagled my 17th hole. I holed out from like 40 metres out of the rough, and then I knew that I had to birdie the last to kind of get in, and hit an 8-iron into the 18th of Riviera to about 3 feet, and then hold the putt for birdie and made it on the number. So
pretty sweet way to finish it. A pretty famous hole too. To finish with a 3 there's a super effort.
And Blake,
yeah, and I was one of the later groups, so yeah, it was good to come in when I needed to.
And there was a similarly, I might be wrong, and I apologise if I am, but you had a similarly dramatic finish in your pennant final too, didn't you?
Yeah, well, all the other matches were pretty much either won or lost, so it was down to my match, and it was on the 17th hole, 1 up, and I can't remember, it was probably about a 30-footer across the slope for birdie to win the match, and then the pennant for Metro. So,
all right, now let's get back. You've had your hole in one. Gonzalez has unbelievably somehow missed from 112 metres.
Yeah, what's he doing?
Yeah, and you walk to the 16th tee, and what happens then?
Well, it's quite a longish par 5. I hit one just down the right side, and he's just down the left. And then had a bit of adrenaline going, so I hit a 4-iron just kind of short right of the green, and he's short left, probably not a great angle, but hits it up to about 7 feet, and then I hit mine to about 4, and then he drains it, and I've got like a downhill left to right putt to win. And I said to Kyle after, I said, I don't even remember moving that putter, but the ball rolled in, so
that's a good start.
Yeah, that was it.
So tell us about where are you at, Blake Collier? We don't know about this this tournament, the Cotton State Invitational. It's the first time I've ever heard of it, to be honest with you. Where is it in the scheme of things, and what's on your agenda in the kind of coming months?
Yeah, it's kind of not one of the bigger events over here in the US, but kind of fit into my schedule quite well. And I played it a few years ago, so I had a nice family to stay with down there, so they were happy to have me. And I thought, yeah, it was a good opportunity to go down. And I mean, any tournament golf's good, so I thought it was, yeah, a great opportunity. Kind of now I head back to Australia on Thursday night, and then got about a month or so before heading to Perth for the Mandurah Amateur, and then all the Aussie stuff kind of kicks off from there. So I'm looking forward to it.
And you know, I suspect, Danny, there's going to be a bit of movement at the and excuse me, you'll understand what I'm saying in a second, Blake, the top end of the amateur rankings at the end of the year, as there traditionally is, and I've got high hopes for this young fella here, Andy, that he could be one that we're talking about a lot in the coming summer of amateur golf.
No pressure, Blake.
Yeah, I know. Come on, Hazy.
Hey, mate, congratulations. It's a hell of a story. And just to put people in the picture, we're recording this at about 4:30 on a Wednesday afternoon in Australia. You've taken our call at about 1:45 in the morning over in Kentucky, I think, is where we find you. So we are very, very grateful for your contribution. It was a week where we needed a good story, Blake, and you provided it to us. So we really thank you for getting up, taking the call, and we wish you all the very best. Thanks for joining us on the show.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Blakey. Congrats again.
Blake Collier joining us on Inside the Ropes. You're a superstar, mate. Thanks a lot.
No, thank you. Thanks for having me, guys.
Thank you. Good night.
Did the alarm go off, or did you just sleep through it?
No, I had to set like a couple of alarms to keep me up. I slept with the lights on as well.
Okay, go to sleep.
Good
Go
on you,
and
mate.
get a proper sleep now.
See you, pal.
I will.
See you, mate.
See ya.
So,
So I've got to talk Fiji.
yeah, that gets us into that now.
I could actually come straight out of that if you
Yeah,
like.
perfect.
What was the
Just
last
do-
thing you said there?
Thanks for joining us on Inside the Ropes.
Yeah, no worries.
So
Want me to keep going?
Bang, go.
So speaking of those amateurs, Andy, again, we've got an amazing chance this week for another young Victorian amateur, David Michael Uzi, who is taking up the Australian PGA Tour's very generous offer of a start at the Fiji International
Fantastic.
at the magnificent Natandola. Someone told us on Twitter the other day. It's like Nandi, you pronounce a second N, I think.
Okay. It's okay. Do you?
Apparently it's Natandola. Anyway, that aside, David Micheluzzi, we're all about trivia here, Stacey.
Yeah, I can tell.
David Micheluzzi, who is the boom amateur of Australian amateur golf this past 4 or 5 months. He's got up to the top 10 briefly in the world amateur rankings. He's taken up his chance for a start in Fiji, and the PGA has looked after him an absolute treat. He's got a start, Andy, would you believe, in rounds 1 and 2 with
Lucas Herbert, obviously.
and a gentleman called Ernest Els.
How good's that?
How good of what a group, hey?
That's awesome.
We've
and
got
full
best
credit.
amateur,
Yeah.
probably best up and comer, and Ernie.
It's awesome.
Isn't it great?
Brilliant from the PGA, and I think
Really good.
It's going to propel Dave Micheluzzi to another level. Regardless of what happens, he could shoot 280s, and he's going to learn a truckload here. So can't wait to see how he goes at Fiji. Can't wait to see all the guys sort of crank it back into gear. Importantly, it's on Fox Sports. And I know a lot of people haven't got Fox, and it's an ongoing discussion, but it's on Fox Sports all 4 days. From 10 until 3 on Thursday and Friday, and 9 until 2 on Saturday and Sunday. But the big thing is, if you can't watch it on Fox, the PGA has got a thing called Pga TV, and they're cranking it back up out of the box for the summer, and you can watch it through the PGA of Australia's website.
Brilliant.
Pga TV. You can follow every shot from Natandola.
Fantastic. So there's a whole lot of other golf to be played this weekend. Speaking of 38-year-olds like we did earlier with Richard McAvoy, just wanted to make note of Wade Ormsby, who gets his second start in a WGC event at the age of 38. He's playing as one of the 5 Aussies at Bridgestone. So, we wish them all the very best. Big ticket tournament, massive dough, huge prestige, all of that. But it's a great opportunity for guys like Ormsby and others who get in via a victory elsewhere. He does that with this. And
a no-cut event, so he can bank a check.
You're going to make money.
Happy days.
You're just going to fill your boots. How much you fill them depends on how he plays. Just 2 quick ones from me before I don't know what other general business you two have got. Kudos and a big thank you preemptively to the R&A and the USGA, who earlier this week declared that in essence the green reading books will be banned. They're doing a 6-week sort of consultative period where they're going to take submissions and really assess this. But it looks like all roads are leading to the abolition of the green reading books, which are just slowing down. Players aren't obviously using their own eye and their own ability to read a green, which is part of the art of being a golfer, and those things slow these players down. So they look like they will be abolished, which is a massive tick when and if it gets to that.
Yeah, I didn't actually think that will happen. I really didn't, just because I thought, it's kind of like, I guess, back in the day when the yardage book first came out. It's like, oh, this information is now getting given to us. People used to do it with the little trundle wheel. They had to do that prep. Now all of a sudden everybody's got access to it.
Yeah.
And I kind of, I'm not saying I agree or disagree, but I just don't think it'll...
We don't need green reading books.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, because I used to use them, so I can't...
did you?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, right.
There's no fence sitting here, Stacey.
So
off the fence, do you like it or do you not like it?
I love the greens books. As a player.
Right, okay, yeah.
Yep.
So did it make you a better putter?
Yep.
Really?
It really helped me.
Okay, right.
Yep.
Did you become reliant on them?
Probably too much at times.
Yeah. Yep.
And it took away the feel side of things, but I still think it really helped me.
And do you, without any data on this, but do you feel like you dwelt on putts for longer? Did you kind of spend more time lining up putts, do you think, once you got hold of the books, or did they...
I don't think I personally did.
Okay, right.
But I can see where they're going with it.
Yep.
But I don't know, I never thought it will actually happen because I'm like, well, everybody's got access to this, and I just thought it was like the yardage book thing.
Yeah, okay.
So, I don't know.
We'll wait and see, but it looks like that's where that one's going,
Yeah.
so we'll wait and see where it comes to pass. Hazy, I'm going to finish on a sad note. We started on a sad note, so if you've got anything else I know we've got some Play 9 we need to
I just
talk
want
about.
to. We've been talking about it, and I commend people to the website golf.org.au/play9. Win your way to not only the Lakes and play as part of the Australian Open in November, but also potentially, if you do really well, you can get to Royal Port Rush next year in Northern Ireland and represent
Murray,
Australia
going,
at the Open Championship.
You and I should get on that.
I think we're going.
We need to be part of that somehow, Stacey.
Golf.org.au/play9.
If anyone's listening, then Peters and Maher need to be part of that.
Yep.
Sure, we dredge you up, Hazy, and get you along if you're so that way inclined. Subscribe to the show. You know how to do it. Wherever you get your podcasts from, make sure you do that. Can I just finish the note? We started obviously talking about Jarrod at the start, but we did lose one of our great characters in the Australian golf ranks last week. Ian Stanley, 19-time winner on the Australasian Tour, 3-time winner over in Europe, larger-than-life character, really, like at his day, a real natural competitor, natural player. Was part of that swashbuckling era of golfers that when I first started watching golf in Australia, Stanley was in the middle of them.
Newton,
and we know
Shearer.
all those guys were there. There were plenty more others, you know. And he was in that mix. And
the Mustaka?
Yeah, all of that. You know, Stan the man. All that. So, great Carlton man as well. I remember having a few beers with him as we commiserated after the 1986 grand final when your dirty, rotten mob got hold of Bruce Dool in his last game, Hazy. A great man, Ian Stanley, for Australian golf.
And one of these senior titles was the Senior British Open. Like, he didn't muck around. He won the Order of Merit when he went back over there as a 50-year-old, I think, in 2000 or 2001. So sad loss because he's a real character and we need as many as we can get. And
it's been a sad week. Thanks for bowling up. You could have easily taken today off and no one would have batted an eyelid.
Thanks, Andy.
The show's been better for having you part of it today.
Thank you, and I apologise for the voice earlier. It's just it's hard yakka.
Not all. Stace, to you, you're a superstar. Get rid of the green reading books, though. Stop being an advocate for those.
Thank you, guys. Always love joining.
Good on you. That's it. We're done and dusted. Thanks for tuning in again. We'll be back next week to do it all again.